Welcome to NFL World, when NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to the 5th episode of the NFL Dream. We just finished the AFC East. We're going to kind of work a little backwards here. We're going to go to the AFC North now, and we're going to start with the Cleveland Browns. So the Cleveland Browns, they made very few moves in their free agency in terms of the people they lost in free agency. They never really said who they lost. And then the people that they did, in fact, sign, we will get into it. So the first one, the biggest signing, obviously, of the offseason was re-signing Myles Garrett, making him, at the time, the highest paid defensive end in the NFL at $40 million a year. Now it's TJ Watt at $41 million a year. That was a 4-year contract. They got it done. Great. Devin Bush was a 1-year deal. Devin Bush is a pretty good football player at the linebacker spot. You're okay with that. They acquired Kenny Pickett via trade when they traded Dorian Thompson-Robinson for Pickett shortly thereafter the Super Bowl. It was maybe about 2 months later. Then we got the other noteworthy signings was Jerome Baker. I love that pick. That was a 1-year deal. That one, personally, I think fits them a lot. He's kind of what you want in a linebacker, and I think he pairs with Devin Bush pretty nicely. DeAndre Carter is a return specialist. I refuse to call him a wide receiver because he's not really a wide receiver. He's a return specialist. That's what he does. He's got a 1-year deal. Michael Dunn was an offensive guard that's a good backup that they re-signed. Anthony Kendall signed to a 1-year deal. He was the quarterback. We'll get into that a little bit later. The draft picks, I said so much about Shedeur Sanders, and we're going to get into it. I love the pick of Mason Graham. I thought that was a great pick by them. Of the tape I watched of Michigan and the stuff I watched on Michigan, 2 players from that defensive line jumped off the screen consistently. Kenneth Grant, who got drafted by the Miami Dolphins, and Mason Graham. They're not the same player at all. Grant is a run stop. That's what he does. Not so much of a pass rusher yet. Mason Graham is a talented defensive tackle who is good in pass rush and good at run stopping. It's very hard to find that kind of a combination, especially with a guy this young. Pairing him with Myles Garrett, that's a nightmare for most offenses. I love that move by them. The Carson Schlesinger one, the linebacker they selected in the 2nd round from UCLA. I like the pick. He's a good player. Wasn't so much the pick I was mad at, more of how much he got via contract. The Texans and Browns kind of messed it up for everybody else. In the 2nd round, normally what happens, the 1st round picks will all get guaranteed contracts. The 2nd round picks don't. They might get 3 years guaranteed at most. For whatever reason, the Texans and the Browns gave their 2 picks, pick 34, or pick 33 and pick 34, guaranteed contracts. It messed everything else up to the point that the 2nd round picks didn't sign until very recently, a couple weeks ago. That was because of that. So I love the pick. I just didn't like how the Browns paid them, or the Texans paid them in that situation. Did not like it. The other 2nd round pick was Quinshon Judkins. We talked about Quinshon on the channel. Remember, we did it when Judkins was arrested. He is a good football player. Get rid of the other stuff. Just focus on football. That's good. That's all you want to do right now. Focus on football. Get rid of the other stuff. He's a good player. Get rid of the other stuff, and he'll be fine. Harold Fanning Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green. That was the pick in the 3rd round. I didn't watch Bowling Green. I don't think many people watched Bowling Green. There was a few, obviously, but I didn't watch. So I don't know anything about it. But they kind of needed some tight end help. So, okay, I get it. I was surprised they didn't draft wide receiver, though, in this class. Round 3. Yeah, let's do round 3 first. Round 3, Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback out of Oregon. So, when Gabriel got drafted, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Shedeur Sanders is right there. Why did you draft Dylan Gabriel? He's not that good of a football player. He's okay. It's a kind of a Mickey Mouse offense at Oregon. Very much precision passing. Like, you're 2 yards away, we're going to throw the ball directly to you. That's what they do. It's what you do in high school, but that's what they do at Oregon. And that benefited Gabriel a lot. He's not deep down the field is not his style. That's not who he is. But Mel Kiper was having almost a conniption on ESPN about how come Shedeur Sanders is still there. Every pick was the same thing. For 2 days, it was the same way. Well, actually, the whole 3-day weekend, but I digress. But yeah, I just don't think Dylan Gabriel was worth picking him that early. That's my opinion. Round 4, Dylan Sampson, the running back out of Tennessee. This is where it's like, okay, I know this. They had 7 picks, the Browns did, but all the 7 picks were in the first 5 rounds. So this was more like round 6 and not round 4. And they took Dylan Sampson, which I understand. They had Kareem Hunt, they had Nick Chubb there for years, and that was a great 1-2 punch. They're trying to build that with Judkins and Sampson, and I get it. Sampson's a great player. I was surprised. That's all. Not surprised where he went in the round. Surprised the Browns took him. The last pick, round 5. The Browns select Shedeur Sanders. We talked about this. Shedeur, the same thing goes for Dylan. You can say this about Dylan Gabriel too. Very much the system was built to cover up the weaknesses and build on the strengths. Absolutely, it was. Which is what any good team does. Because Shedeur doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the strongest arm guy. He's not Justin Herbert. You're not going to get Justin Herbert. He's a precision quarterback. His completion percentage is going to be high. The interceptions may be a little high. He had 10 this past year. But his touchdowns will be high too. He's going to be very precise. Like I said, his completion percentage will be high. He had 70% completion percentage. He's going to be fine. It's just, don't ask him to try and do things he's not comfortable with. Like forcing him to throw the ball deep and scramble. That's not his style. Don't even think about asking him to do that consistently. Now, who did the Browns lose in free agency? The biggest name being Nick Chubb. No one else was named, to be honest, in the Google Index. Nick Chubb was good for several years. The reason the Browns could not keep him is that they couldn't justify keeping him. He's coming back from an injury that he suffered. He suffered this injury before at Georgia. And a lot of people thought that was going to change his career forever. And it might have. It really did. It might have. He's having to go through that injury again. It's hard enough to do an injury once. When you have to do it twice, it's bad. And he's an older player now. He's been in the NFL for a while. And when he came back, he didn't look like Nick Chubb. He just didn't look good. His averages were bad and yards per carry were all bad. But they couldn't justify keeping him. I think he still has more in the tank, but they couldn't justify keeping him around, which I understand. Now, looking at the Browns' record, they were 3-14 last year. They had a win percentage of .176. They were actually better at home than they were on the road. They were 2-6 at home, 1-8 on the road. They lost the last 6 games. Look, their record, I think it's not going to be great, but it might not be as bad as everyone thinks. They won 3 games last year. Their offense was bad. Their offensive line is bad. Their defense that was a strength of them a couple of years ago was no longer a strength. They couldn't do much because they were so gassed all the time. Their run game was not great. Their quarterback was not good. They had a lot of issues on the offensive side. Offense in general was not good. So they got to work on that. That's easy to say, not easy to do. Looking at their schedule for 2025, they're home with Cincinnati week 1. They're at Baltimore week 2. Then they go through a murderer's row for a couple weeks as they face the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Patriots before they hit their bye week. That's week 3 to week 8. Through week 8. That's all that is. I could see them get Cincinnati. Cincinnati is terrible in September. I could see them get Baltimore because Baltimore, for whatever reason, is also not that good in September. Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Miami, and New England are all tough outs, in my opinion. Especially New England with Vrabel there. Because Green Bay, we don't know how good they're going to be. Detroit, I don't think Cleveland's good enough to beat Detroit. Minnesota, Brian Flores likes to blitz, so whoever the quarterback is going to have to be able to handle that. It's just, that's something I'm looking at from my perspective. If you really think about it, and then you go into Pittsburgh's a hard place to play. But also, in Pittsburgh, when it's a division rival game, those games are different. Those games are oddly close or oddly far apart. You never know why that's the way it is in terms of score. Miami, due to the fact of playing them at home, but it's in October, it's going to be a track meet, and you won't win that. New England, I think, is going to be a lot better than a lot of people give them credit for. But then they come back on the bye week, and week 10, they go against the Jets, they're home for Baltimore, they're at the Raiders, they're home for the 49ers, they're home for Tennessee, they're at Chicago, they're home for Buffalo, they're home for Pittsburgh, and then they're at Cincinnati. So it's not an easy schedule. But I do think this, my prediction for the Cleveland Browns, if Joe Flacco is playing, this is a twofer. If Joe Flacco is playing, this team wins 7 games. If any other quarterback plays, whether it's Kenny Pickett, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Dillon Gabriel, whoever it is, they're going to win under 5. And then Stefanski will be fired. I think Stefanski is fired either way. But I do think if Flacco plays, they win 7 games. I think if it's Gabriel, Pickett, Sanders, it's under 5. They just won't win enough. The team is not good enough. They don't have enough pieces. So there is that issue. One final note we have to talk about this is there have been so many injuries for the Cleveland Browns, including 3 of the 4 starting quarterbacks, or 3 of the 4 quarterbacks they have, I should say, have injuries. Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel both have hamstring injuries. Kenny Pickett came back late last week around Friday or Saturday. He came back to practice, but he missed 2 days. Dillon Gabriel, that's a new hamstring injury. Shedeur Sanders has soreness in his shoulder. So he's banged up. The healthiest guy in the quarterback room for that team is 40-year-old Joe Flacco. That's how this is. This is not good. To the point, they had to sign Snoop Huntley. That's what they did. The corresponding move, because you have to make a corresponding move, because once you hit 90, that's your cap. That's the amount of people you can have. Unless you have an international pathway program player, which only a few teams do, then you can have 91 players because that player of the international pathway program does not count against the roster. Don't know why that is the case, but it's not the case. So the person that had to get cut and did get cut was Anthony Kendall, the cornerback who signed the 1-year deal, where we started all over. They did it because they were so injured and they needed quarterbacks. Snoop Huntley was available. They took a chance. But what do you guys think? Do you think the Browns will win over 5 games this year? Let me know in the comments. While you're down there, like the video, subscribe, share the video. It's absolutely free. We are on the road to 500 subs here on YouTube. Help us get there by subscribing to this channel right now. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hubert. Out.